Hello, I'm Carlos Gomez. I'm a team physician for Bowling Green State University, and I'm going to give you some tips about ankle sprains, which is one of the most common injuries for athletes. It is important always to have good stretching and strengthening of our lower extremities. If you have any concerns about it, we always use a RICE formula, which is rest, ice, compression, and elevation. If there's any continuity of the pain and discomfort, you should see a primary care physician or an orthopedic surgeon.
Dan DeSalvo. We have a soft spot in our heart for Dan because he chose Bowling Green for a plan and for an idea and a thought of where we think we could take this program. So first and foremost, we're thankful to have him. He's a guy that's finding that level of consistency. I know we've talked before about some of those upperclassmen. That's the difference between last year and this year, is they're finding that level of consistency, and he's no different. He's a guy that showed he can score goals his freshman year in a 3-game span or a 6-game span in the playoffs, putting up a bunch of goals. And I think he's a guy that's got lots of layers to his game. He can pass, he can make players around him better, and I really like the way he's been playing without the puck so far this year. He's been really good on face-offs, so he's adding layers to his game, which is ultimately what we challenged him to do, and he's been doing that. Well, expectations are only rising every day for us as a team, and then ultimately for him as an individual. He's a guy that's going to be involved. He's right now playing in all situations: penalty kill, power play, obviously 5-on-5. I don't see that changing. We'll continue to harp on the consistency, continue to harp on the details of the game, and that will lead to him getting points. I think he's one of those guys that judges his game on points, and we don't really want him to do that. We think there's a way to get points every game, and that's by focusing on the details and the process, and we'll stay on him for that. But again, he's a guy that he's not new here. He's been through this before. He knows how long these seasons are, and we expect him to be consistent from now to the end of the year.
Growing up, my dad played college hockey. I have an older brother who's 24. He actually went here, played club hockey. So I kind of through the family. Played AAA for most of my life, for 7 years. From there, went on to juniors, played Des Moines, and from Des Moines I came here. I know we want to win the WCHA, make it to the playoffs. I definitely look to have a home playoff series, first round of WCHA. I know the guys talk about making the NCAA tournament, and I think that's a big goal, and I think that would be a big step for our program.